Welcome back to the Leaderonomics Show, and this is again our first edition of the virtual Leaderonomics Show in the midst of our COVID-19 virus. And we have with us Melvin Poh, who is the founder and CEO of the Asian Entrepreneur. And here we'd like to hear a little bit more and understand a little bit more about Melvin's personal journey as well as his leadership journey, right? So Melvin, if you could run us through really quickly about some background about your team so that we have a contextualized understanding of your direct and indirect team.
Sure. At the moment, we currently have a team of about 53 people operating in 5 countries. But besides these 53 people, we actually manage up to 1,214 writers precisely to date around the world. So we work with them very actively on a weekly basis to deal with all the amounts of content that actually come through. So it's actually a lot of people that we have to manage in that sense.
Right, and with managing of people, across different countries and also across so many different people, could you share with us some of your leadership struggles and learning that you have been through in the past 7 years?
Sure. In terms of managing so many people, one of the biggest leadership challenges that I've had personally, I guess because by heart I'm quite a micromanager, or perhaps you could say a control freak. And at the very beginning, I think maybe many entrepreneurs feel the same way. When you birth an idea into reality, you feel absolutely responsible, like a very crazy parent, more or less. So I did everything. I wore every single hat as much as I could and try and understood every aspect of my business. But as the business grew quickly, that became quite a challenge. First of all, from a psychological standpoint, it's incredibly taxing. You will get burnt out very quickly. But second of all, from a growth perspective for the organization, when you try and dig your nose in everything, you're actually limiting the growth of the organization because you're not allowing other people to put their input, which could make the organization grow more holistically. Today, I've come to realize that being a leader and leadership in terms of the context of business is not so much about trying to be skilled at everything, but ultimately where you grow to a position where you're skilled at managing and delegating people such that they can shine and help the organization grow. And that's something that I have struggled for a long time, and today much better, especially when we deal with close to 1,300 staff. It's something that you have to do, I have to do. The other challenge that
So would that be, you're saying learning to trust and empower your team members? Is that
Yes, certainly. Yes. I love trust, this word, because as a person who was in school and also in my early corporate career, I've always had an issue trusting others because I trust myself the most. So that translated also into business. But then I realized that trust is very important because when you let the reins go, you'll be surprised. People can actually shine and do really amazing things that you would never have been able to do. And that's something that I learned very personally. And today I'm obviously very grateful for the team that we have and much more relaxed compared to previously. Empowerment is great as well, because I think oftentimes your team a lot of the members are looking for opportunities to really show you what they can do. And sometimes it's about giving them the right context to really show you their true talents and their true skills. And I really love that concept, really. It's about not so much helping them, but giving them the freedom to do it. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna push some buttons here and ask you, do you think they should prove themselves first before you can trust and empower them? Or do you think they would actually, be able to grow if you first start to trust and empower them? Which way is it?
So my current personal policy is I usually give new staff, new members a chance to shine, to show us what they can do. I never come with the preconception or some sort of assumption that they might not be capable. I always try and give them the freedom to it. And I realize that very much reflects my personal philosophy, because our work is also about giving people chances to publish. And I think when you are so open to that, open to be surprised, oftentimes you would be surprised. And that's something that I've also learned and see reflected in leadership as well. It's very much the truth as well, I think. So I don't really have these preconceptions. But of course, if let's say we do have members that prove that incapable, then we react quite quickly as well. So we don't put them in key positions. And that's something that we've done through the years. We've had to make difficult decisions as well. So always a chance first. And then if something goes wrong, then we think what we do about it.
And I really liked what you say about that in terms of embracing people. You embrace them first, and if given a certain room that they can't handle, then what we do in order to protect them from further failures is to just reduce that and hold them in a space that they can hold, and then they will grow in that space.
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So are there any guiding principles or values that you hold dearly to as a leader?
The biggest one for me that I attribute much of the milestones I've achieved so far is actually integrity. I hold integrity very dearly. From the very beginning of my journey, my personal principle, my mission was to try and create global knowledge. Mm-hmm. And by sticking strongly to my principles and never selling myself short, that has actually driven me to do many things I've done. For example, transforming a working model to an entirely revolutionary model. Right. Even till today, in terms of working with content as well, and also trying to make sure that we have absolute content integrity. All this is attributed to my personal adherence and my personal reverence of having integrity. I think being a leader, that's very important. Some people, I feel they're more perhaps superfluous, they change very easily. But I think it's important to discover your own personal values and stick to them. And then find ways as well to be innovative at the same time. But for me, never giving up on my own personal principles, that is something that I attribute a lot of my achievements to right now.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think a lot of our listeners, also our viewers, are also people who want to do something different for this world, and not just for themselves, for others. And it could involve entrepreneurship in one way or another. Yeah. And in that aspect, if there is somebody out there who is young and who is looking to make a difference and start off something that can impact the community, whether it's a full-time business or some other idea like that, what would be your one advice for people like that?
My one advice would be, I'll sum up in one sentence. It's that success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's actually the journey and the commitment to carry on. That's what matters. Wow. I think that's very important.
I don't know how you do things in one sentence like that. I find it really hard. Yeah. So thank you for that advice, because I think, to kind of summarize what you spoke about, because earlier you spoke about things like, from a very business perspective, the customers, the value proposition, capabilities. Then you spoke about how your personal journey and business went through adaptation and empathy, as well as making sure that you expand into certain verticals. And then we moved into you talking about trust and empowerment in your people. And we end with integrity, making sure that, you don't lose that in yourself. But ultimately, it's the commitment to see things to the end. It is the journey that has taken you 7 years so far, and many more to go, I'm sure. So I think, it's a lot of learning, even personally for me, as in how do we hold on to this hope that we have. And from this baby that we are growing, as it grows up, we transform, and we grow with it, right? And with that, individuals are continuing to learn through the season. This is a difficult season for everybody. And it's a difficult season for the business as well. So I think that hope and support that you are providing through your sharing today, contextualizing it to our listeners, is important as we continue to want to learn more and to support each other in that. So thank you very much for being on this show and being our first guest on our first virtual Leaderonomics show, Melvin.
And thank you so much, Caroline. That was an amazing session, and I think you summed it up very well. Thank you, and I really do appreciate the work that you guys are doing. Very much similar to us, actually, and Really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for being on this show. And again, this is the Leaderonomics Show. My name is Caroline, and we are signing off now. Thank you.